When a woman hurts a genuinely good man, what she feels afterward is not immediate regret, and it's not guilt in the way most people imagine. What follows is something much deeper and far more unsettling. It's the sudden absence of a masculine presence that brought emotional order into her life. A good man doesn't control, demand, or dominate. He leads calmly. He listens, stays centered, and responds instead of reacting. When that presence is gone, the silence becomes loud, life feels less grounded, less predictable, and far more emotionally unstable than she expected. At first, she may tell herself she's relieved. She might even feel empowered, believing she made the right choice, but over time, she begins to notice something missing. There's no longer a man who absorbs emotional chaos without becoming chaotic himself. No steady energy that keeps situations from spiraling. No calm voice that makes problems feel manageable. A good man provides emotional stability not through words, but through his behavior. His consistency creates safety. His self control creates trust. When he's removed from the picture, that emotional anchor disappears. This is when fear slowly sets in. Not fear of losing love, but fear of losing stability. She starts encountering men who react emotionally, who need constant validation, who collapse under pressure or become aggressive when challenged. The contrast becomes obvious. She realizes that emotional strength is rare. Many men can offer excitement or attention, but very few can offer calm leadership. The good man she hurt didn't need to prove himself. He simply showed up grounded and centered day after day. What she fears most is that she didn't just lose a relationship, she lost a sense of emotional safety she took for granted. With him, life felt organized, decisions felt clearer, conflicts didn't feel threatening. Without him, emotions feel heavier and less contained. She begins to feel the weight of her own emotional world without someone strong enough to stand calmly inside it with her. The fear intensifies when she realizes that a good man doesn't disappear because he's weak. He disappears because he respects himself. He walks away quietly, without drama, without revenge, and without begging. That silence is unsettling. It forces reflection, it removes distraction. And in that space, she understands that his strength was never loud, but it was always present. Over time, she recognizes that his masculinity wasn't about dominance, but about stability. He didn't need her approval to stand firm. He didn't lose himself in emotion. And now that energy is gone, that's the fear she can't escape. The fear that emotional stability like that doesn't come back once it's disrespected. And that's when the realization becomes unavoidable. Losing a good man isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet and it's permanent. After hurting a genuinely good man, one of the deepest fears that begins to surface is the realization that she may have given up a form of love that is incredibly rare. At the time, it often doesn't feel that way. Good men don't create emotional chaos, they don't manipulate, and they don't keep someone guessing. Their love feels steady, predictable, and calm, and because it lacks drama, it can be misunderstood as ordinary or replaceable. Only later does the truth begin to reveal itself. A good man loves without strategy. He doesn't use affection as leverage or withdraw attention to gain control. His care is consistent, not calculated. He shows up because he wants to, not because he's afraid of losing someone. When a woman hurts a man like this, she often doesn't realize that she wasn't just loved, she was chosen freely. There were no hidden motives, no emotional traps, no games being played behind the scenes. That kind of love feels simple, but it's actually built on emotional maturity and inner strength. The fear grows when she steps back into the dating world and begins to encounter men who love very differently. Some chase validation, some love conditionally, offering attention only when it benefits them. Others use charm to mask insecurity or control. She starts noticing patterns she didn't have to deal with before: jealousy, emotional pressure, inconsistency, and unspoken expectations. Slowly, she realizes that the love she once had didn't come with emotional debt attached to it. What makes this realization uncomfortable is the contrast. With a good man, she didn't have to earn affection through performance or compliance. She didn't have to walk on eggshells to keep the peace. His love didn't fluctuate based on mood or ego. He wasn't trying to extract something from her emotionally. He simply offered presence, loyalty, and intention. And once that's gone, it becomes clear how rare it truly was. Another layer of fear emerges when she understands that genuine love without manipulation cannot be forced or recreated on demand. A good man doesn't return to prove his worth. He doesn't re enter situations where his respect was compromised. His absence is final because his self respect is intact. That realization hits hard. It's not just about missing him, it's about knowing that someone who luck purely won't come back to do it again under worse conditions. As time passes, memory becomes selective. She remembers the emotional safety, the ease of connection, and the absence of pressure. She remembers how disagreements didn't feel threatening, how trust didn't require constant reassurance, and how his love didn't need to be tested to feel real. That's when fear settles in deeply. Not fear of being alone, but fear of never being loved in that way again. This kind of fear is quiet, it doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up in moments of comparison and disappointment that feels familiar and relationships that never quite feel right. She may move forward, but the standard has already been set. Once someone experiences love without manipulation, every controlled or conditional connection feels lacking by comparison. And the hardest truth is this: when a woman hurts a good man, she doesn't lose him immediately. She loses him gradually through the realization that love without games is rare, and once it's gone, it doesn't come back. After hurting a genuinely good man, a subtle but powerful fear begins to surface: the fear of facing life without the quiet support she once relied on. At the time, she may not fully recognize how much weight he carried for her emotionally. A good man doesn't announce his support or demand credit for it. He simply shows up, stays present, and provides steadiness when situations become uncertain. His support isn't loud or dramatic, which is why its absence becomes so noticeable later. While he was there, challenges felt manageable, decisions didn't feel overwhelming, emotional moments didn't spiral out of control because there was someone grounded enough to hold space without judgment. A good man absorbs stress without collapsing under it. He listens without immediately reacting. He offers perspective instead of pressure. When a woman hurts a man like this and he steps away, she suddenly has to face the full weight of her choices on her own. This is where fear slowly replaces confidence. Without his steady presence, emotions feel heavier. Problems that once felt temporary now feel persistent. There's no longer a calm voice offering reassurance or reminding her that setbacks don't define her. The absence forces her to confront situations without the emotional buffer she didn't even realize she depended on. And for the first time, she feels truly alone with the outcomes of her decisions. What makes this fear uncomfortable is that it isn't about weakness, it's about contrast. She begins to realize that not everyone offers support without conditions. Many people help only when it benefits them or when recognition is guaranteed. A good man supports because it aligns with his values, not because he expects something in return. Losing that kind of presence exposes how rare unconditional emotional leadership truly is. Over time, she may seek comfort elsewhere, but the dynamic feels different. New connections often come with emotional expectations, pressure, or instability. Support feels transactional, advice feels self serving, and in moments of stress, she realizes no one's strong enough to remain calm while she sorts herself out. The good man she hurt never tried to fix her or control outcomes, he simply stood firm beside her. That kind of support can't be replaced easily. As she reflects, another realization sets in. His support didn't just help her through difficulties, it helped shape her confidence. Knowing someone believed in her allowed her to take risks and move forward without fear. Now, without that foundation, doubt creeps in. She second guesses herself more. Decisions feel heavier. The emotional safety net is gone, and the consequences feel sharper. The most unsettling part is understanding that he didn't leave out of anger. He left because he respected himself. A good man doesn't stay where his presence is taken for granted or where his support is undervalued. His absence isn't punishment, it's self preservation, and that realization removes any illusion of rescue or return. Facing life alone after losing a good man forces self reflection. There's no one to lean on emotionally, no one to soften the consequences, and no one to share the burden quietly in the background. That's when the fear becomes real. Not because she lost a relationship, but because she lost a partner who made life easier without ever making her feel small. And once she understands that kind of support doesn't come back after it's dismissed, the lesson becomes permanent. After hurting a genuinely good man, one of the most unsettling fears emerges when she realizes he didn't fall apart, he moved on and became stronger. Many expect regret to come from seeing someone suffer, but the deeper impact comes from witnessing composure. A good man doesn't react emotionally, doesn't seek revenge, and doesn't chase closure. He steps back with dignity. That calm exit is what creates the most internal conflict because it challenges the belief that he needed her to be whole. At first, his silence can be misinterpreted as indifference or weakness. She may assume he'll return, explain himself, or try to fix things. But time passes, and instead of chaos, there is growth. He begins investing in his purpose, his health, his confidence, and his future. His energy shifts. He becomes more focused, more centered, and more attractive, not because he's trying to prove anything, but because he has space to become more of himself. This is where fear begins to take shape. Seeing a man improve after walking away forces reflection. It removes the illusion of control. She realizes she wasn't the source of his strength. She was simply part of his journey. His progress highlights the fact that his value came from within, not from the relationship. And that realization can be deeply unsettling, especially when she understands that she underestimated him. As his life expands, another layer of fear emerges. Other women begin to notice him. His confidence isn't performative, it's grounded. He doesn't seek attention, yet attention finds him. He carries himself differently now, more intentional, less available, more selective. Watching this shift creates a painful contrast. The man she once had access to is now out of reach, not because he's bitter, But because he's evolved, the fear intensifies when she understands that he didn't grow to win her back. He grew because he chose himself. That distinction matters. Growth driven by self respect is permanent. It doesn't reverse for nostalgia or guilt. A good man who levels up after walking away doesn't circle back to situations that once drained him. His standards rise along with his confidence. This forces a difficult internal reckoning. She may begin to question her choices, not from loneliness, but from comparison. The men she encounters now don't reflect the same emotional strength, discipline, or integrity, and knowing she once had access to a man who embodies those qualities and chose to walk away from him becomes hard to ignore. What makes this fear so powerful is that it's silent. There's no confrontation, no dramatic exchange, no final conversation. His life speaks for itself. Every improvement becomes an unspoken reminder of what she lost. The fear isn't about regret alone, it's about permanence. The understanding that once a good man outgrows a situation, he doesn't shrink himself to revisit it. And in that realization, the truth becomes clear. Losing a good man isn't painful because he suffers, it's painful because he thrives without looking back. After hurting a genuinely good man, a deeper and more sobering fear eventually takes hold. The realization that her actions may have cost her a future that cannot be rebuilt. In the moment, choices often feel emotional, impulsive, or justified. Disrespect can be minimized, boundaries can be crossed, and accountability can be avoided, but time has a way of removing emotion and replacing it with clarity. And when that clarity arrives, it reveals the weight of what was lost. A good man represents more than companionship. He represents direction, stability, and long term vision. He is someone who plans, commits, and builds with intention. When a woman hurts a man like this, she isn't just damaging a relationship, she's disrupting the foundation of a future that could have been structured, secure, and meaningful. At first, that future feels replaceable. Later, it becomes clear how rare it actually was. The fear grows when she understands that high value men do not negotiate their self respect. A good man will communicate once, maybe twice, but he will not tolerate repeated disregard. When boundaries are crossed and respect is lost, he doesn't stay to argue, he leaves to protect his standards. That departure marks the end, not the beginning of a negotiation, and that finality is what makes the realization so heavy. As time passes, comparison becomes unavoidable. She begins to see the difference between men who talk about commitment and men who actually embody. Many can offer attention, charm, or temporary excitement. Very few offer consistency, leadership, and emotional reliability. The future she once had access to wasn't guaranteed, but it was possible, and now that possibility is gone. Another layer of fear emerges when she realizes that her behavior, not circumstances, closed that door. It wasn't bad timing, incompatibility, or external pressure. It was choices, words spoken without restraint, actions taken without foresight, respect withheld in moments where it mattered most. Coming to terms with that truth forces accountability, and accountability is uncomfortable when the cost is permanent. What makes this realization even more unsettling is that a good man doesn't return once his vision shifts. When he removes someone from his future, it's not emotional, it's logical. He understands that building a life requires trust, cooperation, and mutual respect. Once those are compromised, he adjusts his plans accordingly. He doesn't revisit the past hoping it will behave differently. The fear isn't just about losing him, it's about losing the version of life that could have unfolded, the shared goals, the growth, the stability, the sense of being chosen for something lasting. When she sees him moving forward with clarity and purpose, the contrast becomes undeniable. His future continues. Hers feels uncertain by comparison. This realization settles in quietly. It shows up in moments of reflection, in missed opportunities, and in the understanding that not all losses are loud. Some are realized only when it's too late to undo them. A good man doesn't announce the cost of disrespect. He simply removes access to the future he was willing to build. And once that future is gone, no amount of regret can recreate it. After hurting a genuinely good man, the deepest and most lingering fear settles in quietly, the fear that she may never be loved the same way again. This realization doesn't arrive immediately. At first, life moves on. New connections appear, attention returns, and distractions fill the space he once occupied. But over time, something feels different. Relationships feel noisier, less grounded, and emotionally exhausting in ways they never were before. And that's when the comparison begins. A good man loves with intention. He doesn't love to fill a void, boost his ego, or escape loneliness. He loves because he chooses to. His presence is steady, not overwhelming. His affection isn't performative, and his commitment isn't conditional. When a woman experiences that kind of love,
Mm.
it becomes a reference point even if she doesn't realize it at the time. Once it's gone, every other form of connection is measured against it. The fear deepens when she realizes that many men love from a place of need. They want reassurance, validation, control, or constant emotional feedback. Their love comes with pressure, with expectations, with instability. What once felt normal now feels draining. She remembers how effortless it was to feel secure with a good man, how she didn't have to constantly prove herself or manage his emotions. That absence becomes impossible to ignore. As time passes, emotional moments begin to reveal the truth. In moments of vulnerability, stress, or uncertainty, she notices that the emotional safety she once felt is missing. Conversations feel surface level, support feels inconsistent, and the calm reassurance she once took for granted is nowhere to be found. The realization hits love without emotional maturity feels hollow, no matter how intense it appears on the surface. What makes this fear so powerful is that love like that cannot be demanded or replaced. A good man doesn't love deeply because he's chasing approval. He loves deeply because he is emotionally grounded and self sufficient. That kind of love isn't learned overnight, and it isn't offered freely once it's been disrespected. When he walks away, he takes that standard with him. Memory becomes selective but honest. She remembers how disagreements didn't feel threatening, how silence didn't feel unsafe, how being alone together felt peaceful instead of tense. Those moments replay not as nostalgia, but as contrast. And in that contrast, fear grows. The fear that what she lost wasn't just a man, but a level of love she may never experience again. Even if she moves forward, even if she builds new relationships, something lingers. There's an unspoken awareness that not all love feels the same. That some love is reactive and some love is rooted. That some love excites while other love stabilizes. And once you've experienced the latter, the former never fully satisfies. The hardest part of this realization is knowing that a good man doesn't return or reoffer the same love. He doesn't revisit situations where his presence was undervalued. His love moves forward with him towards someone who recognizes its worth. That understanding creates a quiet, lasting fear, not of being alone, but of knowing what was lost and knowing it can't be reclaimed. And that's when the truth becomes unavoidable. Hurting a good man doesn't just end a relationship, it ends the possibility of being loved that way again.